Hello, my name is Woody. This is Change in the House of Pods, a podcast about Deftones. My guest today is Minnesota's #1 Deftones fan, Jeff Cagle. You know what's cool about talking to Deftones fans? It's like talking to a cousin you haven't seen in a while. Like, the bond is just there. It's so dope. Jeff was the very first person to reach out to me about being on the podcast, so I was stoked to talk to him. And I think Jeff and I have followed each other on Twitter for a while, maybe exchanged some tweets, but this was the first I'd ever spoken to him. He's followed Deftones since 1996 when he was 14. He's had a ton of cool interactions with the band, hanging out after shows to meet them, things happening during shows. He's got a couple of really cool live photos that were featured on the various Deftones social media pages, and I've shared them on my Twitter and Instagram as well. One of them, he's screaming into a microphone with Chino, which in these COVID times is something I can't imagine happening again for who knows how long. That makes that photograph pretty special, right? All of these experiences, people's lives in music through Deftones, it's really been exciting to connect with people while we are so distanced. You know what I mean? Especially over Deftones. Next week, you're going to hear my conversations with Zach and Kelly from 30 Nights of Violence and the season finale on Christmas Day.
I don't know if you know this, but Deftones, Chino, they tour with a fucking PA system backstage in their dressing room. Like a full PA that's hooked up to their boombox or whatever, and they blast music so loud you cannot hear yourself talk. And so they will just be blasting Creed like arms wide open. We all be back there singing along. So we just started having Creed parties.
Ron Daler from Mastodon. And I want to make sure you know you can find the Change Pod on Google Pods, Apple Pods, iHeart, Omni, and of course on 93x.com, 93x.com/change-pod, and on Spotify too. Please like, follow, subscribe, whatever. Tell your friends. And reach out to me if you've got a cool Deftones story. Man, I want to hear it, and maybe even share it. So find me on Instagram or Twitter at Woodbruh, WOODBRUH. I really appreciate hearing from you. Please enjoy my conversation with Jeff Cagle as we talk about his favorite albums, his favorite songs. He even suggests the song he wants to play at his funeral, which is wild to me, not considered before. We've been to a bunch of the same shows, which is also really cool, and you'll learn how Jeff discovered Deftones, oddly enough, at least odd for 2020, from a magazine.
Yeah, it was a magazine called Metal Maniacs, and I saw the magazine at a Barnes and Noble store in the old Harmar Center back in like the summer of '96, and I was getting ready to leave for Columbus, Mississippi to visit my father for about a month and a half, and just wanted to have some reading material. And Pantera was on the cover, and Korn was also prominently featured, and of course they were blowing up at that time. And little did I know that they had another write-up they had a write-up of the Deftones, and it was right around the time that Chino had some dreads going, and Steph Carpenter, he had shorter hair, if you will.
Maybe
and
like
no mustache
beard.
or anything
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, no beard.
Baby face.
And yeah. And to me, those guys looked so different for being featured in a metal magazine. They looked like they could either be dressed up as like punk rockers or some alternative artists or anything like that. But I was intrigued, and I was like, okay, these guys look pretty cool, and try to do my best to keep an ear open for them. And of course, I'm in Mississippi, and Deftones albums aren't anywhere.
A hotbed of rock music somewhere in Mississippi.
I mean, I could barely find Korn self-titled, and they had a Sam Goody. So anyway,
Goody ain't got it. Goody didn't got it that time.
So things obviously evolved a little, and then my first listen to him was the song "Teething," and I found that at a music store in Columbus, Mississippi, in fact, and then brought it home and I'm 14. I'm like, okay, I'll just buy it because finally has it on there. Plus, it has Korn and a couple other cool artists on there as well.
Yeah, what was it?
And
What was the thing that you bought, if I may?
sorry, it was the Crow City of Angels
Oh, sure. Yeah.
contract.
Yeah.
And so I listened to it and kind of bobbing my head a little bit. I'm like, okay, these guys are really cool. I can dig this. And then uh, later on that summer, when I returned back to uh, New Brighton, where my mother lives, MTV had a late night special on the 1996 Vans Warp Tour. And, of course, I saw some clips from Pennywise, and then they showed some clips of the Deftones. And of course, Chino had just buzzed his hair at that time, so it was really short. Now, I'm bald right now, so I'm not trying to go for like the
You're not
younger
the only
Chino
one.
years or anything like that, but this is just genetics. Anyway, so they're getting ready to perform the song 7 Words, and they're kind of doing their interview, and then they're just kind of getting ready to go into the chorus, and then it goes into the refrain where he's yelling "Shut, shut, shut," and then I see him jump out in the crowd, and he's like screaming into the audience. And I had never seen that as a 14-year-old before. I was excited. I was just like, holy shit. If
Yeah.
these guys ever come to Minneapolis, I have to see them. And as it happened, unbeknownst to me, uh, they played at the McDonald's parking lot in Dinkytown. And it was a Saturday, but of course, me me being a younger teenager and being like a strict rule follower, I had no way of like being able to bullshit my way to get down there or talk my parents into that. And and keep in mind, Woody, that this was like it was a big enough like conversation I had to have with my parents just to let me to go to my first concert, which was the Smashing Pumpkins at the Target Center during the Melancholy and Infinite Sadness tour cycle,
That's
which
a
was a
really
fantastic show.
that's
It
a
was a
really cool first
fantastic
show.
show.
Do you remember who else was on the
So,
bill for the Smashing Pumpkins show?
a guy named Grantley Buffalo.
Hmm. That the
I
name sort of sounds familiar, but I don't know. Yeah, Smashing Pumpkins though on the Melancholy tour. That's pretty cool. I'm not a huge Smashing
Yeah,
Pumpkins fan, but um, you know, good work when you know good work. My first concert was Vanilla Ice, so
nice.
yes.
Well, was it as
Maybe not quite as
hardcore
good.
you? Was it like, or was
Oh
he
yeah,
still rapping?
no, it was 91, 92. Yeah, it was like
Oh, nice,
it was in the thick of
nice.
things. Yeah, I think I was in second grade.
How did you how did you swing that?
Somebody's dad took one of my classmates. His dad took us. I wasn't even that good friends with the kid, but he asked me to go, and I went to my first concert,
Nice,
Vanilla Ice.
nice. See, I went to WWF house shows when I was a kid, and that was like a big deal for me. And
That's
then
cool.
and then it evolved to concerts the older I got.
So you made it to the McDonald's show.
No, I didn't,
You did.
unfortunately.
So you
And
didn't make it to the McDonald's show.
that was one thing that I wish I could have gone to, but of course, when you're a young teenager and you don't know the bus systems very well, and you don't
No, yeah,
you don't
you
really
weren't
have a
able.
good enough like alibi to go for to make, then you're kind of out of options, and then you have to like kind of wait the year until they come back again and all that stuff. And so um, about a year passes, and 311 was going to play a show at Roy Wilkins Auditorium, and for some reason, I had to wait a day to like buy tickets. And of course, Roy Wilkins Auditorium, it's either an open floor or you have seats.
Mhm.
And by the time I called in for tickets, they only had seats available, which I was just like, nope, not going to do it. And so about a week later, I found out that Deftones were going to be at First Ave, and they had always been on my radar. And I was like, okay, this is one I'm definitely going to.
This
And
is December 8th, 96.
it was actually December 12th, no, December 9th, 1997. So it
Oh,
was a year later.
a year later. Okay.
And
I was just talking about the 96 show. That's why I thought I would try to sound like a hot shot, like I knew what you were talking about, but no,
no,
it was 97.
no, no, I didn't see them until 1997. And Limp Bizkit, of all bands, was one of the openers,
Oh, this is the Limp Bizkit show.
along with Will Haven. And I have to tell you,
Fuck.
that remains my favorite show to date. I mean, there was so much energy throughout First Ave. That was my first show at First Ave as well.
Oh, that's
And
so rad. Will Haven was awesome too.
oh yeah, yeah,
Like
I really
their
enjoyed their set.
music stands up. Like I was listening to Will Haven not long ago, and trying to get Graham to play a song on the Pit, our metal show, and he was like, "Who is Will Haven?" I was like, "Dude, he's a little bit younger. He wasn't as familiar with the Deftones like bands because they were definitely like like Deftones similar band." But
Yeah.
fuck, that bill is awesome. I've always thought Limp Bizkit was an incredible live show, but I also did not see them in '97, which is pretty cool. I mean, they were still touring $3 bill, right?
Yep, still touring off a $3 bill. And I don't think they were quite at that moment where they were ready to release a new song. And that was like a few months later when they returned at First Ave in like March of 1998. And
And this was a main room
Seven Dust.
show too, right? This was for sure a
Yep,
main room show. Yeah.
yep, yep. And Limp Bizkit, of course, had been making a bunch of rounds in Minneapolis. They were at the Vans Warp Tour um, in '97, which I attended and saw them for the first time and was pleasantly surprised. Uh, John Otto even like threw a drumstick my way and it hit me in the head, but then it fell to the ground and I didn't even like think of like picking it up right away. And some chick beat me and was like, finders keepers. And so,
Oh, that's super funny. So you saw Limp Bizkit in the summer of '97, and then they came back in that December in the main room. And
well, they,
go
well,
ahead.
they actually came back and opened for Primus of all bands,
Oh,
like
in
a
between that
month
time?
before. Yeah.
Wow, really? Damn,
Yeah.
there's
I
like
mean,
rules against that now. There's like rules against like bands can't hit a
mhm.
spot so often. Like that sucks. That's amazing to see Limp Bizkit
Well,
3 times in '97 is crazy.
and what was also unique about that situation in particular was 93X had a holiday show like 3 or 4 days after the Deftones Limp Bizkit show. And that was at Roy Wilkins. I had to miss that one, unfortunately, because my parents were like, no, can't go to 2 concerts in 1 week. You do that when you get older, but can't do that right now. You need your rest. And
So who was
I
at
let
the
my,
holiday show? Do you remember?
let's hear it. Well, obviously, Deftones, Limp Bizkit, Seven Dust was there. I think Jackal was the headliner.
So hold on. So Deftones played twice in the same week, is what you're saying?
Week
In the
in the
same
Twin Cities.
at first
And in fact,
go ahead.
and it's funny because Ming was also uh, their uh, their road manager at the time, and he was just like doing his best to like get people to like hook him up with like uh, he was kind of like bribing some fans outside of their tour bus at that time with like, hey, if you guys get me weed, blah blah blah, then we'll get you like free backstage passes. And
Damn, that's super cool. Wow, that's awesome.
Ming was a character. And anyways, back to the first Ave show. I mean, Limp Bizkit killed it, and I didn't think anybody would be able to like top them. And then, of course, Deftones comes on, and they start their set with Lotion, and that was my first time hearing that because I hadn't, Around the Fur had been out at that time, and the only song that I had heard was My Own Summer. And I thought naturally, okay, well, they'll probably start out with My Own Summer. And then, of course, they start with Lotion, and the place was just insane. And it was just like a whole different like energy vibe. And of course, Chino doing his thing, like stage diving out in the crowd for the first time. And me being kind of a younger fan, I kind of stayed I was on the floor, but I kind of stayed toward the back. And I didn't really get into the pit until after halfway into the show. Because I said, okay, well, once they play 7 words, then I'll kind of get in and have some fun and do some dancing and whatnot. So
Put an elbow to somebody's forehead.
yeah. Well, I accidentally like shoved a security guard thinking he was like a fan, and then
whoops.
and then he like, yep. So I almost got thrown out, and I
Rookie.
it was like immediate remorse and just
You picked
bad.
the wrong one. You picked the wrong
one.
The people at First Ave are so cool though. So yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you realize that years later, even attending shows, and I'm at the point now in my life where I try to help them out as much as I can and almost be like a pit enforcer and just kind of separate the people in the pit versus people who want to get in. And so
it gets nuts. But I can't imagine though, like, because I didn't get to see them. I still am not entirely sure which was my first show, but it wasn't until like 2000, 2001 that I saw them for the first time. So thinking about like what that experience. Go ahead.
Was it a bigger venue or a smaller venue?
I really can't remember because I went to a lot of shows. Like I went to a lot of shows starting somewhere in like 99. I started going to shows like all the time.
Okay.
And so I don't remember if it was at Wilkins, if it was at Target Center, if it was. I feel like it was one of those. It could have been Godsmack Deftones, that tour with like CKY and Puddle of Mud.
Oh my God, that we were taught that was one show of theirs that actually stands out with me because, and again, the things that you hear from security. I mean, my buddy Colin and I got there pretty early, and we designed a sign. And of course, one of the messages that my buddy decided to put on was "Don't lose your shoe," and that referenced the First Ave show that we saw him at for the first time because I don't know, sometime in the middle of that set, Chino jumped out on the stage again, and someone took his shoe, and then didn't give it back to him apparently until after the show. And I mean, he could have just like stopped the show at that time, but I mean, he just kept on performing, and he had some words and everything. And
I bet he did. I've seen him do it on other shows because I feel like it's happened to him a lot because I've seen it. I've watched so many shows on YouTube over the course of the pandemic, but like I can remember him going like, "What the fuck? Like you're taking my shoes. What is this?"
Mm-hmm. So we made that reference, and of course, when he's getting down to the, he comes down like 3 or 4 times when he's at the Target Center show, and first time is during My Own Summer, and they're getting kind of towards the end of the show, and then someone, of course, is just like kind of passing him a joint or whatever, and that was the first time I saw Chino smile. he never smiled at all at any of the early shows that I saw him in. Not one. He always had this big stoic face
until somebody passed the weed. My man. So
he took a big puff and then and then screamed and finished the song, and then about 3 songs later he comes right in front of me, and they're getting ready to sing Korea, and my buddy and I are like holding them up at this point, and it was kind of like our holy shit moment. And, and then someone wound up stealing his hat. And someone stole his hat,
Nefarious, like
but then
kleptomaniac Minneapolis.
yeah, but then another fan like threw uh like a stocking hat at him, like one of those skull caps or whatever. And
Dude,
it's hot as hell down there. It's August, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing wearing a skull cap
that
at that show?
rings
You're all sweaty and
such
everything.
a bell. I can almost remember that moment now. Like I wouldn't have ever remembered it had you not brought it up. Because I remember
Yeah,
thinking the same thing. Who is wearing that now?
yeah.
But did they sell them at the merch table? I
I
think they
think
might
they.
have been selling them at the merch table, huh? But I
Mhm.
remember going like, why do they have that? Because we're in Minnesota, so we're like, we're winter wear experts. And I say this
Yeah.
too on this first blizzard of the year, which is sucks. But anyways, okay, so
So,
yeah,
anyways, so they finished the song, and then Chino and it wasn't their new road guy Juan Gonzalez that was with him or anything like that, but it was another guy, and he's like, some guy back there took my hat, and I could hear him clearly, even though I had earplugs in. I mean, he wasn't happy about that, and all my buddy and I could do was just like wave the poster like right in front of him, and then he sees it and then just like brings it up and then puts it on the drum head up there, and I'm just like,
oh no way, that's awesome.
so that was like a really like cool moment for me. And of course,
You were
I've
floating the
had.
rest of the night. You were floating that
Oh
night.
yeah, oh yeah,
You had a direct like engagement with the band.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool as shit.
And then uh, Abe and Frank came out for a little while that night. We were talking to them outside the tour bus, and Chino eventually came out of the tour bus as well, and was pretty chit chatty as well. And it's funny because that was like, I want to say that was my third time meeting Chino in person,
Really,
because
by
I had
that
met
point.
him. I mean, he looked thinner compared to when I saw him like the first time at the Quest on June 30th of 2000. And so,
I think I might have been at that show. I think that could have been my first show too. That could have been one of them.
and Glassjaw was the opener at that time, and they put on a cool show. And the thing that I mean, you were on the floor at the Quest, right?
Sure, sure. I've been on the
So
floor at the Quest.
you remember how intense it got even before like the main band would hit the stage. I mean, it was just like a big stampede for people to like get up front as early as possible. And
Yeah, there was some
it
shit
was,
visibility. Like there was those pillars that was really obstructive, like
oh
obtrusive,
yeah,
whatever. Like
oh yeah,
that was a pain in the ass. So yeah, you had to fight for a good spot, and it.
oh yeah. But I tell you though, that show was fantastic. And afterward, I got lucky. I was 18 at the time, and I was just kind of standing outside and just kind of waiting. And all five band members just kind of gradually came out, separately, of course, and they were just signing shit and doing a bunch of tours. I remember talking to Chi, and I was asking him if he had any more copies of his spoken word album called The Bamboo Parachute. And he was like, "Oh, you didn't get one?" I was like, "No, dude, they were all sold out." He's like, "Oh, wow, that's cool, man. I mean, I'm sorry you didn't get a copy or anything like that, but that's cool to hear." And so, very humbled to hear that. And anyways, when I had them sign like a piece of paper that had like a photo that it did not show my Photoshop skills at all. I'll tell you, because the photo, looking at it now, it looks like shit. But anyways, so all five of the members signed it, and so I have that framed along with the ticket stub, and that is probably my most valuable possession.
So tell me about it's the that you put together
So
that they
it's
signed.
so So I opened up a Word document, and then I was looking for some random images of the band online that I could like print off and everything. And um, and I kind of figured, well, maybe I can take the whole eBay approach where I find like a photo of a celebrity and then like have them sign it, but not sell it, just keep it for myself.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it worked, and I still have it to this day.
That's it's funny, like the things that we hold on to and that you were like, you know what, let me, rather than like grab an album, you know what I mean? Like go,
Hmm.
because it's like I don't know. I've been in spots before where I'm like, I don't know if I need to sign the album. I'm gonna listen to the album. But now we're in this digital world where you're like, well,
Hmm.
like,
Well, and I'm also at the point in my life where I don't like to collect as many things. I like to have experiences,
yeah,
and photos are always cool with the artist, but I know that when you're meeting an artist, you can't always expect a photo to take place.
yeah,
And so I kind of pick up on the vibe a little bit of any musician or any artist that's like just not in the mood, whether they're just like signing stuff and just kind of going as quick as quick as they can through the line, and then just shaking hands with people and all that stuff. So I
and
try to respect the process a little bit and not be the asshole that tries to raise a stink in order to
just
like,
take a selfie like without permission.
yeah,
That
yeah.
guy's always a little bold. I think. Like, don't be that guy. Don't be
Well,
that
I did that with Sully Erna after that Deftones show, and I,
guy. He didn't like that, did he?
well, he just kind of looked at me like, "Hmm?" I mean, even his security guy like kind of warned me a couple of times, and I still snuck it in with like an old disposable camera. And I mean, here's Sully. He's like this guy who's like 5'4" or some shit. I don't know, shorter than me, but because I didn't think that would ever happen, and of course it did. So I'm just like, okay, I'll sneak that in. But looking back on it now, don't do that again.
Yeah.
Especially don't do it now.
Well, it's so much easier now with a cell phone. You could do it slick. You could just act like you're looking at your
Well, it is.
email or
Well, and
whatever.
funny because one time there was actually one time where and it was their last headlining show at the Myth in Maplewood in 2016,
Oh, that was such a good
and
show.
yeah, it was. And I brought my wife for the first time, and it was her first actual Deftones show,
Rad.
and because I wanted her to at least experience a real Deftones show, not just to see them open for another one of our favorite bands, but to see them headline and kind of feel the energy and everything. And we got to the venue fairly early, and the only spot that was available was on like the way right side of the stage where Sergio plays, and it was actually next to the 93X VIP area. And I saw that area, and I was like, Rachel, we're riding the rails tonight. And of course, she's just like, am I going to be okay? And I was like, yeah, you'll be fine. Don't worry. And there was like no moshing or like people like shoving their way up toward that area at all. Not even when Chino came toward our direction when he was ending the set with Bored at the night, which I was surprised by. So, anyways, so the show ends, and she's just like, "Well, so how do you meet all these guys? And can you tell me what you do?" So I'm like, "Okay, all right, be prepared to wait for a little while, but here's what we'll do." And so went out to my car, got a sweatshirt, and because I think it had just rained that day or something like that, and it was a little chilly out for a summer night, but anyways, just wanted to be comfortable. And of course, we're walking toward the bus area, and Juan was running around the parking lot, and I ran into him and I said, "Hey, Juan, this is my wife Rachel," and blah blah blah. And so uh, he's like, "Oh, cool. Did you guys enjoy the show?" And I was like, "Yep." And I'll actually be at the Iowa show tomorrow. He's like, "Okay, cool." So anyway, so we go up there, wait for a little bit, and Chino came out, and Chino was just signing autographs, wasn't really doing photos or anything like that. And Rachel offered to take a photo, and I was like, don't do that, or we'll just kind of cool it with that for right now. And so I just kind of reached out and shook his hand. It's like, "Hey, Chino, good to see you again, Jeff, and this is my wife, Rachel, and this was her first real Deftones show." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Did you enjoy the show?" And he enjoyed it. And then we were both telling him about our wedding and how we incorporated some of his music into like our ceremony um, and our reception, which he was really touched by. And it wasn't just Deftones songs, but it was also music from his other side projects like Crosses, and um, I came out to Team Sleep along with the rest of the wedding party. So
That's
I
rad.
think he didn't expect that at all, and it was just I saw that tiny little twinkle in his eye,
That's
and
so cool. What
and
did
then
you
I was
walk
like,
out
"Oh,
to? Which song? Which song? Which song did you walk out to?
well, it was Team Sleep's Ever that I initially that I came out to, and then the wedding party followed. I uh, Rachel chose her own song for the show, or not for the show, for the wedding
It is a bit of a show, though.
reception.
Let's be honest. Weddings are a bit of a show.
Yeah,
It's a whole
and
production.
yeah. But anyway, so there was, and I had to play it for my mother-in-law just so that she could understand where I was going to be coming from. And I was like, "Well, just remember, this is my wedding, but it's not going to be all Deftones or all music from Chino. So I
Just a little
promise you that, just
bit.
a little bit here." And before that, we played the acoustic version of Digital Bath and Option by Crosses. And
Wow.
the first time I heard that on the studio, I kind of teared up a little bit, and I occasionally kind of tear up because it's you know when they're kind of getting to the end of the song there, I can almost kind of hear some pain in his voice a little bit there. Sorry to sound a little emo there, but I was kind of I was kind of tearing up a little bit
Dude, you wouldn't
whenever I would
believe
hear
how
that
many
song.
people come on this podcast and say, "I'm sorry for getting a little emo." It is not uncommon. It is all but too common on this podcast for people to get a little emo. I think
Hmm.
that's just what they do, man. They bring out the
Yeah.
emo.
So I kind of cut the conversation because I knew that he had a lot of people that wanted to see him, and I was like, "Okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow night in Iowa." And he's like, or I said, "I'll see you tomorrow night in Des Moines." And he's like, "Is that far from here?" And I'm like, "Nah, just a couple hours." And so fast forward to the next night, and so the so those photos that I sent you a little while ago, um,
I didn't
the
look at
first
them yet. Where did you send
no,
them?
that's fine.
Are they on my Twitter? Did you send them via Twitter?
Not on I press your personal Gmail.
Oh, you emailed them? Okay. Okay. Let me just
Yeah.
okay, cool. Here they are. Oh
And
shit.
so
Oh, these
first
are
photo
rad.
that you're
Oh,
seeing,
that's so cool. Sorry. Okay, yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead. The
yeah,
first
yeah.
photo.
So the first photo is at the show in Clive, Iowa, the night before, or the night after Minneapolis, and somehow I got thrust all the way up to the security railing. Couldn't believe it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna stay here for the night." And this particular photo was taken when they were performing Ricketts as part of the encore,
Fuck
and
yeah.
Chino had been kind of walking around the front for a little while throughout the night. He hadn't really come my way or anything like that, or else it would look like he was coming my way. But then he would just kind of skip, and so anyway, so he's singing, and I'm like, and you know how quick the lyrics go on Ricketts, and so he sees me imitating him, and and just for a brief moment, he sees me like looking at him, and I'm just kind of, come on down, just kind of motion to him to come down. And so he comes down, and then he just starts screaming like forehead to forehead. And whenever you whenever you have your favorite singer like that, you got to be prepared and just run with it. Scream your ass off.
Dude, that's so fucking cool. That's
So
so
yeah.
cool. I
So
always
yeah,
wonder what that experience is like when you're right there. Because I mean, I've been close, but never that guy. I've never been you before. I've never been that guy in that photo, because that's fucking
and
crazy.
obviously what I didn't expect was for their tour photographer to take a photo of that and then put that as the main photo of that stop on their Facebook page. I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's so
Couldn't believe
sick.
that.
I'm gonna share all of these photos on my Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah,
If that's cool,
absolutely.
just so everybody
Yeah,
can
that's
see them,
cool.
because this, especially this photo's cool as shit.
Absolutely.
And I see you at the Guns N' Roses show. So that must have been the one that you're talking about. I sort of suspected that was the one that you were talking about when they played, when they opened for
Yeah.
GNR at US Bank Stadium.
And I have to say, I was really impressed with that set. And they put a lot of energy into that set, even though the stadium was really quiet. And um, and as you could see in that photo, I was the only person there besides my wife, just kind of like standing up, and I was doing the air guitar or doing the air bass, kind of the same way that she would play. And wishing I had like the long dreadlocks and everything, but yeah. And to my surprise, someone like made it into a snap story, and then 2 people later, someone sends my wife a message like, is that you? Is that your husband?
Oh, that rules. That rules. Oh, we're so going to the next Deftones show together.
Oh,
Uh,
of course.
that rules
Of
so.
course.
I love
Of
that. That
course.
was a great show. I also love Guns N' Roses. I took my mom to that show,
Nice.
and I think that was an incredible set. I totally agree. They were, and I got the plug, so I was pretty close. I was like in the pit.
I wish I would have been down for that because
They were stoked,
I would
dude.
have done my best.
It was like they were really excited. They were like, they had a really awesome, like, I think they were, it's like when you have a half day at work, I think, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to
Mm-hmm.
play 4 or 5 songs and get the fuck out of here. Like, it was, but they were
Mm-hmm.
like super full of energy and like, we're playing a stadium. How cool is this? You know?
Yeah. And they didn't take that for granted at all, which was awesome. Um, I was a little worried because I had heard, I have a good friend of mine from Quincy, Illinois, who saw them in St. Louis the night before, and or a few days before, and she was a little disappointed and thought the set was a little underwhelming, but at the same time, excuse me, you're playing in a really big stadium, and I think some of the songs that they chose on their set were a little slower, I want to say. I think Sex Tape was included on there. And, for an opening set like this, you have to bring a ton of energy and not, some of the slower pitch songs or whatever. So,
But it's also a very accessible song, which is why I think they
mhm.
probably chose it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
the
Hmm.
the Guns N' Roses crowd, like we are a sliver of the Guns N' Roses crowd, that is a crowd
Oh yeah.
that is into Deftones, and I think it made sense. I feel like I remember them playing Diamond Eyes, and um it was a good set. It was a good set. It was, they had a lot of fun. They were great, and they're always fucking great.
Hmm.
That was a cool weekend. The night before the Guns N' Roses show, Chino did a DJ set. Um,
And I was sick as a dog that night, and I could not go.
well, you didn't miss anything because it was like 5 or 10 minutes into it when like his record player broke or like his turntable like busted, like one of the turntables stopped spinning. So he was basically just playing songs. And so the energy, like he could feel it. I'm sure that it was sort of like whatever room, but it was cool. Like it was a tiny room, and took some selfies with Chino blurry and as shit across the other side of the room. And what is the name of that bar? Is that the Viking bar?
It was the Viking
The
bar. And
Viking
in fact,
bar.
I won tickets from 93X at that bar.
Oh no
And it
shit.
was, yeah. And it's funny because I was the only, they were doing a radio giveaway, and uh, the DJ who was on at the time, or who was at 93X at the time, I happened to read her tweet, and I was just like, okay, got to do it. So I go home, and of course I change into a Deftones shirt, and to my surprise, I was the only person who showed up. And there she was just like, guess what? I guess you're the winner. And so I was just like, oh, great,
That's cool as hell.
And she had me choose between like 3 upper level tickets or the nosebleeds, and I just thought the only person I want to bring is my wife. So we took the lower level tickets
Hell
and
yeah. Hell yeah.
didn't look back. Made it into a fun date night. Although Rachel was shocked that Guns N' Roses played like 3 hours, and I was just like, whoa, especially on a work night. So
She's new here. That's all right. No, that's cool though. That's really great.
yeah,
And you were sick that you made it even sick is pretty. You made it, and then you made the Guns N' Roses like screenshot photo.
yep.
Wow. So, but what's
I
this
couldn't
last?
believe
Go
I
ahead.
couldn't believe that. So, anyways, so this last shot was taken at Aftershock in 2018 in Sacramento,
Oh, cool.
and I know this is going to sound really cheesy, but being that the boys are from Sacramento, California, and I had never been to Sacramento before, I was just like, okay, well, this is my Deftones pilgrimage, so to speak.
Going to
And
Mecca. I love it. I love it. I think it's
yeah,
so cool. Yeah.
and and at that time, I had more than enough airline miles to take a free trip,
Fucking hell.
and I had the vacation hours to do it. And
All of those things are those things are mad important when you're a responsible adult. They are like
well,
you gotta have the
well,
balance.
well, and it's funny because when pre-sale tickets were on sale, Rachel and I were in Thailand at the time, and so I was just like, okay, this is going to be kind of a messy way to get tickets,
Is
but
it
here
dot
we go.
com from Thailand? Like, do you even how do you
I just had to use my phone and just do my best, type in a code, and I had like a pre-sale code from another Deftones fan who very fortunate to have gotten in contact with, and I wound up saving money on the pre-sale and getting into the show. I just had to worry about my lodging later, and of course, I have a few friends of mine from Iowa and Chicago who are also going to be coming out there. Also, some friends coming out from Texas to the show, and yeah, we all got out there, had a great time, and just had a fantastic set. And I want to say that that photo was taken while they were playing Seven Words, I want to say.
I love that Chino is
And
like mid scream
yeah,
in the
yeah.
shot. That you're both mid scream in the shot.
Oh yeah. And um, it was the following night, on Sunday night after we had wrapped up with System of a Down, we went to Holy Diver, and which is like one of their favorite hangout spots. And I was a little late getting there, and all my friends were just like, "Dude, you got to get here. Just trust us. Get here as soon as you can." So I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll try." And of course, lo and behold, Frank and Abe were there, just kind of hanging out, eating pizza, playing pinball, and just I was like, "Oh, cool." So, um, So then I told Abe about our wedding, and very happy for us. And he's like, "Oh, that's awesome. First question is, are you still married?" I was like, "Well, yeah, of course." And he's like, "Okay, cool. Now let's go play some ping pong." That's like quintessential Abe
No doubt.
Cunningham for you.
Right on,
And
man. Let's go have some fun.
it, well, and it's funny because one of the things I wanted to do, the next time that they come into town, I know that Abe's a huge fan of Prince, and I happen to have a baseball hat with Prince's old logo on here that I was just gonna hook him up with, just for shits and giggles. And of course, it's like, with this tour that they're doing with Gojira now next year, I noticed that they're doing the whole paid meet and greets, and I'm just like, you know, I did that back in 2011, and it was definitely awesome at the time. And I've met him so many times throughout uh, all the times that I've seen them now, that it's just like, gotta let the fans do it. And plus, I don't want to be that fan that tries to like somehow maneuver my way into like meeting them, because I know they have bills to pay. And
Kind of been there, done that. You had your time. Now it's time to let somebody else do it.
yeah,
Plus it's
and I just
expensive. It's
and
expensive.
it is
It's not cheap to get in there and do that thing.
it is, and I just don't want to be like one of those. Again, I don't want to feel like one of those fans that's like entitled to everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you've never done it, I think it's totally worth it. And I would 1,000% encourage people to like spend that money, get that picture, have that handshake, and enjoy that memory.
Absolutely.
But if you've done it a
And
few times, like I feel you. I feel you.
mhm. I mean, like I said, in 2011, it was a rarity that they were doing that. And
So let's talk about that particular time, because I was also at that meet and greet. That was my first
okay,
opportunity meeting the band, and they did that sound check. You got to sit on the sound check. Do you remember that?
oh yeah,
How
and
fucking cool was that sound check?
Royal, that scream at the end, even
Dude,
I was like,
that is
fuck yeah,
literally my favorite 30 seconds of music, like of recorded
oh yeah,
song making. That shit fucking owns. And they were so chill. Like when you were chilling, like it was, I don't know, maybe a dozen of us, right? Who did the meet and greet where you got to do like the sound check performance. So we're all like
mm-hmm,
super casually hanging out at the rail. Like
mm-hmm,
me and my wife are like, the fuck out of here. Like there's nobody here in the main room at First Ave, and
mm-hmm.
Deftones are on stage. Like that shit was awesome. So
It
they were throwing,
also
Steph was like throwing picks the whole time. He's like, yo, who wants
funny.
one? And he's like chucking them out.
Well, it's funny because I remember shouting something at him, and he kind of smirked at me and
Still
tossed
line
me
up to catch it.
tossed me something in particular. And I thought, okay, cool, nice
That's
bonus
cool
and
as hell.
everything. And then um,
Dude, they
are we going?
showered us. They made it rain picks at that fucking sound check. There were
Oh
probably
yeah,
picks remaining on the floor because they threw so many picks at us that day. They were
oh yeah.
so cool that day. That's so awesome you were
so we
there.
and so then we get into the 7th Street entry, and we're just kind of hanging out. And Steph brings his Steph has always had like a little mini boom box. A lot of times there are a couple of times that I've met him, he's always had like some like real interesting like techno or dance music that's playing that you can't find anywhere. And this is just how he rolls. I thought it was always cool. And I think I was one of like the earlier people to have my photo taken with the band, and just kind of hanging out. And of course, I just kind of introduce myself and just say, "Hey guys, thanks. Great to see you again. Great to see you again. Thanks for coming to Minneapolis." And you know, seen you 12 times, and then I was just like, now you're here for lucky number 13.
That's rad. Dude, so I have my picture from that day right here. Steph, I don't know if you
Nice.
can see. He was in
Oh
good
yeah.
spirits that day. Look at how big he's smiling.
Oh yeah.
He was baked.
Absolutely.
He was baked out of his gourd.
Oh yeah.
God, I love this band. I love this band so much.
Oh yeah.
That's cool as
Absolutely.
shit that you were there that day. I love. I mean, it makes sense that we were at shared concerts. Were you at the show in 2006 then at First Ave? This would
Yep.
have been Saturday Night Wrist with Dillinger.
And that was the final night of that tour, and so they were kind of playing a little longer of a set list that night, and everything just kind of seemed a little bit more casual and a little bit more laid back and everything, which I thought was awesome. And of course, they start out the set with Rats, 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 and the nicest surprise of the night was when they threw in Minus Blindfold. And my girlfriend at the time just couldn't believe me when I was kind of imitating Chi at the points where he screams into the microphone, and she's like, "Oh, aren't you going to hurt your voice? And what, why are you doing that?" And
There is no tomorrow.
exactly.
Like,
And a
only
funny
one.
thing about that girlfriend was, I actually lied to her and turned my phone off, pretending that the battery was dead, just so I could see them the following June at the Myth in Maplewood, where when Deer and Gray opened, and as it turns out, that was Chi's final show in Minnesota.
No shit.
So it was,
Wow.
I know you're supposed to feel remorse when you lie to your significant other, but
Nope.
that's one of those times where I'm just like, I regret nothing in that case, and it was worth it.
I regret nothing. I love that you have that recollection of those shows. I remember 2006 because my wife bought me that was her first Deftones show, and she bought me a Jermaine Rogers lithograph from the show, which is one of my prized possessions because it's so cool. It's like this skeleton crawling out of an ear. It's so fucking rad. And I just remember how, first of all, I remember how insane Dillinger was, and then I remember being like, "Fuck, this is gonna be a tough like set to top," and then Deftones did Deftones, you know what I mean? And I sort of remember it being loose, like you said, and kind of casual, or more talkative. I guess I remember there being a little more chatter, but I also remember it just being super intense and like just great.
Well, Chino was also he had also pretended to be a tiger at that time and kind of go "Rawr" into the microphone.
Dude, that's so nuts. That's so insane.
And yeah, and it just and that to me was a surprisingly awesome show. And even though the tickets were technically free, I still bought mine because I was working as a newspaper reporter at the time in Owatonna, and I thought, if I don't buy tickets, there's no way I'm gonna not get in, because that place is gonna be packed.
Yeah.
Even on a cold winter night like that,
Have they
people are still
played?
gonna pack in.
Have they played First Ave since?
They have played. They haven't played at First Ave since 2011.
Oh, sure, 2011. Yeah, the one that we were just talking about. Yeah, that was the last one. That was the last
Yep.
one. Which kind of
And
sucks. I
then
always hope that they're going to be at First Ave. I was stoked to see them come into the Armory, but I was First Ave is like it's my favorite place to see a show.
oh yeah, it's a legendary venue, and also I'm not sure if you saw them at their show in 2010, but you know they were supposed to have an opener that was to be announced,
Yeah, and then I didn't.
we're just kind of waiting around, and there's some dance music playing, and there's like Metalocalypse playing on the big
Yeah,
screen,
that's
like right in
right.
front of
That's
us.
right. I remember that was the first time I'd ever seen Metalocalypse. I
And
remember that.
yeah, mine too. And I was
I was
just
like,
like,
what
okay,
the fuck?
this could actually be a cool cartoon. I just have to go in. And of course, once I turn on the show and I hear Murderface's voice, I'm just like, really?
That's so cool. Yeah, dude. I remember being the same way. I was up front. I was super close for that show. I
Mhm.
wiggled my way all the way up, and I remember being like super ready to spend a night getting rowdy. That's wild. Wow. That's
And that to me was, and that was like one of their best set lists I think I have ever I have ever watched them perform. I mean, the energy was there,
that
and
was.
Chino,
Do you remember
and
when in 2010? I'm going to try to look up the set list while we're talking. That was.
so it was. And a funny thing
Let's see
is,
if
I
I
have
can.
my notes here. It was May 24th,
There it is.
2000,
Yeah,
and they played 23 or 24 songs that night.
they played it. Well, according to setlist.fm, I'll run it down for you.
Okay,
It was 22 songs is what we've got.
22 sons. Okay.
Um, wow, the set list fucking rules. Yeah. So, Rocket Skates is what they opened with.
Yep.
Diamond
Yep.
Eyes, Command Control, Fate Asira, Korea, Elite, Knife Party. So far, my mind has been like pretty much fucking blown, right? Then, so Elite, Knife Party, You've Seen the Butcher, Sex Tape, Birthmark. I feel like I remember Chino singing Passenger this night. Did they? Oh, they did it towards the end. Okay, sorry.
Hmm. Hmm.
Night Party, You've Seen the Butcher, Sex Tape, Birthmark, When Girls Telephone Boys, Minerva, Prince, Beauty School, Be Quiet and Drive, Around the Fur, Lotion, My Own Summer,
And
Passenger,
when they performed
Change.
Lotion that late in the set list, I was just like, holy shit. And
Yeah. You
that's
guys
like my
still
one
have the
two go
juice for
song where I
this?
just go ape shit on.
Yeah, it's like, really, you guys have the energy for this late into the fucking set list. And then they closed out the encore was Root in 7 words. uh
Yeah.
I always love it when they do the adrenaline songs last, or the, a couple of
Oh
different.
yeah, of course.
It's cool.
And I mean, it's a big homage to them to it's an homage to like their early to some of their earliest years, which I think is always perfect way for any band to like close out the set. And not that I don't like them closing with Head Up or anything like that. It's a great song. Seen them close with that song numerous times, but if they end the set with like either 7 words or Engine Number 9, I mean, that's just the perfect ending,
Yeah, chef's
and
kiss, right?
kind of gives
It's
me
like,
kind of gives me all I need at that point as a fan. So
so
that's like
you got into, them at a 96, 97. You said 97, right?
so 19 summer of 1996, and I was 14 at the time. Um, I just turned 39 in September. I still listen to them uh, as often as I can. In fact, every Wednesday while I'm working, I stream all their albums on YouTube. Listen to all of them from start to finish, as long as I can during the day. If I don't have any meetings or anything else, it helps the day go by pretty quick. And I usually try to start out with like try to start out with Adrenaline, and then finish up with like their newer stuff. And of course, lately later in the afternoon, I've been listening to Ohms, and so it's always a nice way to kind of end things there.
What do you that's so cool. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I've often thought about other people's listening habits, and particularly given the state of the world right now. And it's my listening habits are so different than they were before the pandemic. So it's cool that, like, just listening to how you go about, like, intentionally finding time for them is super cool. um I wonder then if we may, knowing now approximately when you got into them, if you could give me your top 3 albums. Do you have a top 3?
I do actually. Number 3 is Koi no Yo. My top 3 is Koi no Yokan, And what I liked about that was uh, they actually built upon their rebirth, which was Diamond Eyes following Cheese Accident. And they were able to turn, a tragic moment into something beautiful and then just kind of build on that. Still keep it heavy, but also still showing Chino's vocals and also everyone's contributions perfectly. Swerve City, great way to start the album. In fact, that was a song that my wife and I entered the wedding reception in.
Oh, really? Oh, that's dope. Did
Yeah.
your wife come in on a horse? I'm just curious. Did she ride in?
No. Well, we got married at our reception was at the Varsity
Sorry.
Theater.
Oh, what a clown. Oh, that's cool. That's cool as shit.
And it's funny because our DJ, when I was playing him that song, he's just like, "Whoa, this is heavy," and I was like, "Eh, "Don't worry, they're not screaming or anything like that, so it'll be kosher.
We know
Trust
how to
me."
do this. Yeah. That's
Yes.
cool as shit.
So, and then my second album, or my number two favorite album, of theirs is White Pony, and I know that that's most fans' favorite album because that was an album that they took their time making, writing, and recording, and they wanted to use that to kind of separate themselves from like most other bands that they were somehow affiliated with at that time from the indie
Mm-hmm.
metal movement.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought that album on at midnight from a Sam Goody, and then just started cranking it up, and it was a perfect sound. And of course, I heard a couple of clips from Ozfest '99. Heard Korea at Ozfest '99, so I was already really excited for that. And
I love that song.
MTV did like a special news report at that time on some of their newer music, and they played a clip of Pink Maggot, which I was like, okay, this is pretty cool
Really?
because they're wanting to showcase Chino's guitar skills on that album. And obviously, I mean, it's a great album to uh, listen to from the start and get a bonus with the Boys Republic if you have the special version. I, I bought the one with the red cover.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. What kills me is that to this day the Boys Republic's still not on Spotify, and it's a major
yeah,
bummer. That sucks. I
yeah.
don't like it. It's like, come on, fix yourself, Spotify. I'm really hoping that for
Mhm.
the 20th, the release of this Black Stallion album, that Spotify will get their fucking act together. Put
Mhm.
the Boys Republic.
Ditto.
I think it's time. You know what I mean? It's time.
Exactly.
So, and what's your number one?
My number one is Around the Fur. Straight up, it's the perfect album from start to finish, and it's an album that I don't skip any songs at all, not one. Not I have never gotten sick of any of the songs on there, and I it's just
Are
it's
you
so.
suggesting that you've gotten sick of some of the other songs?
Hmm, I don't want to quite go that far, but there are some songs that I will skip because
You-
I'm
I have never
less than.
divulged. I've never spoken ill of this band on this podcast, and we're a few episodes in now. I will open up to you in a way that I have yet to open up to anyone else, and divulge this information. I fucking hate Simple Man. I hate that song.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. It's not for me. It's not for me in the Leonard Skinner form, but in any form, I don't like it. And that is maybe the one song in the entire oeuvre, in the entire Deftones catalog, that I'm like, skip every time. Don't want to hear it. No thanks.
So you don't skip Pink Cell Phone, huh?
Fuck no. I love greasy, filthy hand jobs. Give me that. Give me that all day. No, is that Pink Cell Phone? Which one is Pink Cell Phone? Or no, is that
Yeah,
that's Pink Cell Phone, right?
yeah.
Okay, no, yeah, dude, give me that shit. Boom, boom, boom. I'm into that. Hell yeah. The one with
I, I thought that
so
was like the goofiest song that I'd ever listened to, and that's surprisingly that's not a song that I skip when I'm
no,
playing Saturday
dude, that shit
Christmas
slaps.
at work.
It slaps. So I sort of anticipated it's something that came up early in this podcast with Brendan from Incendiary. He was like, I think you like the ones that you started with, the one that you've got the emotional attachment to. And it sort of sounds like that's the case for you. That's the one that you were introduced to, was, or that you like at the time that you got into them heavy. It was Around the Furthest that was out. That was the new one that came out, and you
Well, that
were
was, and I actually purchased Adrenaline sometime. It was sometime when I was a freshman in high school, and 93X at that time, they were doing like the cage match or something like that, and Seven Words was one of the more popular songs to go really far. I think it went into like the semifinals or something like that. I don't remember how they did that. You have to talk to Pablo or something like that. But
Yeah, it used to be weekly, but it could have been different. I mean, it was weekly a decade ago when I was still around, or well, when the cage match was still around a decade ago. But
okay.
prior to that, what it could have been in '97
Hmm.
could have been anybody's guess. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, Seven Words was a popular song, and it went really far. And I would say Seven Words was the one song that truly just got my attention, grabbed it, and also, when you see Chino on TV, like stage jiving out in the crowd and
Yeah,
then screaming and into a microphone on top of fans, and you've never seen that before from the likes of um, White Zombie and like Pantera, and then other
Phantom,
alternative rock.
stand behind the mic. Yeah,
That says something, and that speaks to you that, yeah, there's some angst you see there, but at the same time, it's positive and it's awesome. It's different. And how can you not love that? You know what I mean?
and something I would add to that is that a lot of and this is probably my bias as a Deftones fan showing, but a lot of the other artists who would do that dive in and whatever,
Hmm.
it felt derivative of
Hmm.
Chino, because there was just something singular about the dude. There's just something um, magical about those performances, and the mystique that I always talk about, the mystique that surrounded the band, because it was so seldom that you saw those images, or that you got to experience that, even though they would come around, a few times a year. Like, you couldn't just pull it up on YouTube at that time. You either had
Hmm.
to witness it firsthand, or hope to catch something in a magazine, or it was a different time, and that mystique was real, and the payoff was fucking out of sight. It was out of sight.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I wonder, what are your three favorite songs? Do you have a few favorite songs that you could name?
Well, I have a favorite song from each album, and
All
I'm
right.
just and I'm just kind of mentioning their their mainstream releases. I
The
mean,
nine,
like
we'll say.
Linus would be. I would love to list Like Linus, but it's not on Adrenaline. So on that album, Birthmark is my favorite track. On Around the Fur, Lotion, on White Pony, Feta, on their self-titled Needles and Pins, which I have still yet to see them play live.
No
I know
shit.
they've played it before. I still haven't seen it to this day, and that that would be one song that I would just go ape shit on if I
I'm
heard it.
guessing that we have probably seen most of the same shows together, and I'm almost sure that I've seen Needles and Pins. Maybe I haven't, though. I'll
Hmm.
need to double check that. I'm going to, as a matter of fact, write that down because I am dying to know. I've gone through some of the set list and like most of the shows, and I've noticed some consistency. Like in each era, the set list don't vary a ton, but from year to year, they do mix it up a little bit and obviously introduce new songs. But there was a window. I'm almost sure at that show in 2003 they played Needles and Pins.
I had hoped that they would have played that, and I mean, they
The one at
played Death.
Wilkins.
Yeah, the one at Wilkins. They didn't play it there though, and I was
Really?
bummed.
Damn, I just watched that show recently, and I didn't even. I mean, I was probably a little bit enamored. Shout to Vezanique for posting all the cool ass Deftones shows on Deftones Live.
It's all
Fuck,
good.
I do love Needles and Pins. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving
On, and yep, Saturday Night Wrist. I really love the song Xerxes. It's
Okay.
mellower song, but it's also, and I know this is going to sound morbid, but that would be the song I would pick to play at my funeral, which God willing it won't happen
Jesus.
for decades. You know what I mean? I hope it's not a thing.
I hope you can plan a few more life events between now and then.
Yeah.
To fix some
well, I'll tell you one thing. If Sid Hartman can live to 100 years old, why the hell can't I? You know what I mean?
I hope we have 3 or 4 more albums to choose our funeral.
Exactly.
Now and then. Yeah.
Let's see here.
Actually,
Diamond Eyes.
really quickly before we move forward to Diamond Eyes, about where does Saturday Night Wrist fall in your album rankings?
So I have it actually 6th after Ohms. And I know it's a dark record, and I know that they were in a really dark period in their lives, but also at the same time, I was kind of in a dark period in my life as well, where I was just drinking too much, and I could kind of relate to, the overall mood that the band was kind of putting out at that time, but at the same time, they had some powerful songs. I mean, they started out with "Hole in the Earth," and just the riffs at the end of that were just phenomenal. The bass at the end.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about Saturday Night Wrist. I ask because I think that there's like a very specific, because I've spoken to people already who love that album. That's their favorite, and it's not bad by any means. Like, I don't think any of their albums are bad, but if you have to rank them, which is a fun thing to do, like I think there is a correspondence between like your age and your affinity to that album.
Well, and one song that gets a lot of grief for some reason that I don't understand, it's a song "Maine," and I think,
is that the one with Serge?
With Serge Tankian, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of, overall view is it's a great riff. It's a goofy music video with like dancing and whatnot. I think people were hoping for a lot more from Serge Tankian, given the energy that and the musicianship that he's brought to System of a Down and his solo work. And just for some reason, my guess is fans either don't like his vocals, or they just kind of felt a little flat, and it didn't compare to like
Flat is good.
Maine or James Keenan and Passenger, you know what I mean?
Soaring, amazing vocal. But I'm not even, forget it, comparing the two. It's just weird. It's just weird it feels so disjointed from what the rest of the song is doing. And there are a lot of things about that album that feel a little bit disjointed, but I don't know. I just still, don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the song. I am very interrupted by what Serge is doing on the song. And I feel like they should, honestly, it would be cool to give him another crack at like another song. I think it'd be cool to do some harmonies or something like, a little more, I don't know, because I love Serge and I love System and I love Deftones, and I've seen them do live shit together that's like fucking off the chain.
And I would have loved to have seen Surge play Maine with them when they were at Knotfest in Somerset, and they didn't.
Dude, great call.
I
Great
mean,
call.
just golden opportunity, but
Could have changed my opinion on the song. Maybe they knew it sucked.
but I'm just,
I don't know.
but I mean, I'm just a fan, and I can't really demand like what I want to hear from artists. So it's just one of those things. It's one of those things that you hope for, but
Yeah. No, I feel you. Yeah, I totally feel you. Okay, so your favorite track off Diamond Eyes?
Royal.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, the song stood out right away. I mean, Rocket Skates definitely grabbed my attention, and it's a song that I always just kind of rock out to. And in fact, I was in some sort of lip syncing contest at Northern Invasion in like 2016, I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
and I got third place.
Lip syncing to Rocket Skates?
Yeah. I mean, I did my best Chino impression, and apparently it impressed the judges enough to like.
Good for you, dude. That rules.
Finish, so.
Anytime you can win a contest courtesy of Deftones, dude, I wouldn't be a radio DJ were it not having were it not for Deftones. I would not be a radio DJ. It was because I won a contest thanks to a story about Deftones.
Nice.
So moving on, after Diamond Eyes, we move on.
Coolio Khan. My favorite track on there is Goon Squad.
Word.
And I thought Rosemary has such a beautiful ending.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of gradually kind of turns into the opening riffs into Goon Squad. And I have never seen them play that song live, but I could hear the band rehearsing that from outside of the Diamond Ballroom in Oklahoma City in 2013 when I was there to see them.
Wow,
And
you went to Oklahoma City to see them. That's cool as shit.
Yeah. Well, at that time, so I had just gotten a full-time job with the state of Minnesota, and I just thought, well, okay, I got my Deftones itch here. I need to see them, and they're not coming to Minnesota anytime soon.
Yeah, that bummed me out. That bummed me out. They didn't come around on that tour.
And so a good friend of mine who lived in the Dallas area, who the band knows, Gilbert, invited me down to stay with him, and we saw the band in Dallas at Edge Fest the day before, and then I bought Gilbert his ticket to Diamond Ballroom as kind of like a thank you for, transportation and lodging, and just being an awesome host and everything.
That's rad. That's
and
awesome.
Yeah, and I heard Goon Squad, and I just thought, oh my God, are they going to include that in the set list? And they didn't. And I kind of feel like when they play certain songs in their sound checks, I always feel like they want to play it, but there's something stopping them from like playing it live, and I can never put my finger on it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I wonder what that is. I've had some conversations recently about the live selections and that process, and it's very interesting to me. I think there is a general clamoring from Deftones fans to hear shit like that just, I don't know. First of all, I might be speaking out of my ass by saying that they don't play it a lot. But for songs that are, I guess, deeper cuts, or songs that aren't, because okay, you've got to play Change. When was the last time Deftones did not play Change? You know what I mean? When was the last time they didn't play Digital Bath? Because, I mean, I would be bummed if they didn't play it, or if they didn't play Butcher, or any number of like the more like the songs that you hear every time these days, because that list grows. That list is growing every time. And it would be pretty exciting to get a tour with just the other stuff. I mean, I just the other day ran into the video of their and I probably watched it before, but didn't like really appreciate it the way that I did just earlier this week. Their live debut of Anniversary of an Uninteresting Event at the Chi Chang benefit. Tommy Lee on the second drums, Mike Shinoda on keys, and Chino literally with a flawless vocal performance. Like, holy cow, stop you dead performance. And it's like, I know you can play these songs. I know you could play them. I know you could do that. Like, you guys are fucking Deftones. Like, do those shits. Do those cool ass songs that we don't hear, because that shit is, for us, you know, super heavy Deftones fans. It's really exciting.
And I feel like there are times when they save. It seems like some of those deeper cuts are either in California or Texas for some reason.
Yeah, I think it might be onto something. I mean, when they played Streetcar, which I'd seen before, but when they played it at Dia de los Deftones, I was like, lost my shit. I was like, dude,
that was a nice surprise, I have to say.
Did you go to Dia de los Deftones?
Of course I did.
You see, I'm wearing, I don't know if this is 18 or 19, the hat that I've got on, but this is one of my Dia, and I've got just so everybody knows, we should both flaunt what we're floss a little bit. I've got my White Pony 20. You got your Buckle Up for Chi, which is dope. I've also got my White Pony beer, which
nice.
is very satisfying and delicious.
I stopped drinking back in 2009, and I'm missing out on like every single craft beer there is.
That's okay.
And
you know, I can get you some empties. I can definitely get you some empties. I've got mad around here. I've got two sitting in front of me. So you went to we did Diamond Eyes. So now we did Koi, and now let's get to Gore. I'm very curious where you're at with Gore.
It's the title track, Gore.
Is
nice
it?
and fast, lots of energy. The other songs that were close mentions, Phantom Bride, obviously, and then Acid Hologram.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Do you like Gore?
It's it's not my favorite album from theirs, but I do like to listen to it, and I certainly don't hate it like some Deftones fans.
Yeah. The loud aren't necessarily the many. The loud aren't necessarily the many. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
All right, and then Ohms. What is your favorite new song?
Radiant City.
Yeah.
Just the perfect rips. Just. I mean, that's going to be a song that's going to be like played live a lot, and I think they've got the energy and the drive to do that. And I mean, if they also kind of link it in with like This Link Is Dead, I mean that could be really killer. It's just it's so cool, and I'm really excited to see what they do with their set list from here on out.
Truly.
And I know that, some songs that I would love to hear live are probably, I mean, one song in particular I know I'll never hear from them is Can't Even Breathe. I remember asking Abe about that after the show at the Target Center in 2001, and he just laughed at me. He's like, you know how difficult that is to play?
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so it was almost an indication that they probably weren't going to be playing that one again, or it would be very, very rare. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
that's why the Rarities tour needs to happen. The Deep Cut tour.
Well, and if they were ever to do that, I would hope to God that after all these years, they would finally play Pink Maggot all the way through. No teasers, not Back to School, but Pink Maggot all the way through. I mean, I think you would get an entire club or an entire arena just bawling with
Yeah.
joy if they ever played that.
It hadn't occurred to me how sought after this recording was until I spoke to Vezanique and heard how rare it was. But he did also correct me. So when I spoke to Joe Falkowski and we were talking about that show that he attended at the Quest, and he had held on to the set list. The set list said Fist, but Vezanique hit me up after he listened to the podcast, and he was like, I think that was probably, he said that if they had played Fist, if they did, it would have been very rare. He said, I don't think they did. I'm pretty sure they played the demo version of Pink Maggot, which is also fascinating. 2 years in advance of its release is just it's so interesting how long that writing process might have been and how long they were experimenting with that song or those songs. And
oh yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, in a way, well, I was about to compare it to like I was about to call it the band's like Purple Rain, but I'm not going to go that far just because I'm not sure if they would really take that compliment too well. They think I would be disrespecting Prince, which I'm never trying to do at that point.
No, fuck that noise. Yeah.
So
no, we're definitely not gonna do that. Man, this is really cool. I've kept you for almost 90 minutes. Well, more than 90 minutes now.
oh, dude, I could keep going on and on and on, and because I have tons of stories, and you always never know like when to end it and everything, and it's interesting when when you've seen the band like 24 times in multiple states and with like several people, made tons of friends, gained a lot of new relationships and everything. That's what Deftones means to me. I mean, I don't see these guys um as like a bunch of angry rockers or anything like that. I see them as bringing fans together, fans who were teenagers and now that are getting older, approaching their 40s, and they're still rocking out without trying to look like a bunch of like older fans from like the listening to like old 80s hair metal and then like overdoing it in some shitty little bars, you know what I mean?
And I bet they would be so tickled to hear you say that they were approaching their 40s.
Well, I mean,
we are approaching our 40s, but
I mean, I'm going to be 40 next year, and I hope to God I can start traveling again and finally hit up London. But if I keep I'll find another way to celebrate in style.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about where I want to see Deftones, because if there's a band that I'm down to travel for, it's them, and I'm always going to go back to San Diego. I don't care what's going on, as long as they're doing Dia de los Deftones in San Diego.
Absolutely,
I'm there for that.
Absolutely,
but I definitely want to see somewhere else too. You know what I mean? Like I want to go somewhere else to see them.
Well, it's funny because one of my favorite game shows growing up was Press Your Luck, and I'm glad that it's back on the air now with a whole new hostess.
No whammy.
And I love the fact that they have a bonus round and where it allows contestants to kind of make their own unique prizes. And so one of the things obviously that I would do would be, get my old whammy tattoo retouched again, because
you have a whammy tattoo.
I do. Probably can't see it really well, but that is the original whammy that I got back in 2008, and the tattoo artist is just like,
oh, that's so
just laughing his ass off.
I bet he was.
At the Dragon's Lair in Owatonna.
Oh, that's so
anyway, so what?
That's sick.
So when I was filling out the application to try to apply to be on the show, one of the things that one of the prizes that I was gunning for uh, was a summer tour in Europe with the Deftones at like one or two festival dates, and then like one of their own shows, and then like a private meet and greet, like for just like one of the shows, not like
Yeah.
spend the whole time like some of these other contests are. But part of me believes that Deftones, who are they? And I think and I'm thinking they're just like, well, this is a big enough fan, but what if he makes it on here and people are just like, who the hell are the Deftones? You know what I mean?
Dude,
So
I'm so glad that you mentioned that actually, because it there is a sort of a quality about this band if you've been with them long enough. And no shade to the people who are just getting to know Deftones, like come one, come all, like welcome aboard.
absolutely.
But there is sort of an improbability about their longevity and the fact that they continue to make such great music. Like it's sort of it's like this pleasant surprise that we still, after all these years, get to enjoy our favorite band like peaking. Like they're still fucking peaking as far as
Mhm.
I'm concerned. Like there are just so many
Well,
different ways to enjoy them now, and it's remarkable. It's truly remarkable.
and one of the points that I made on a Deftones Familia post when Ohms was released was I was one of the fans that actually waited to listen to the whole album before it was leaked. And unless the band leaks it themselves, then I mean,
I
there's
feel
nothing
that
I can really do except listen. But
same way,
I waited
totally.
around to listen to it in its entirety, and I was blown away. And I just thought to myself, I bands evolve, and the fact that these guys are approaching their 50s and they're still rocking out. I mean, they're still making me happy. That's all that matters at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to sound selfish or anything like that, but I I love the type of work that they do, and the effort that they put in for fans, and then they go out and tour and have a great time doing so.
Yeah, as long as they keep doing it, I mean,
Exactly.
there's no question I'm going to keep coming back. It's so cool.
Exactly.
All right, I have to start wrapping up our conversation because we are going to. I'm not done with you yet, but I'm just pointing towards the end because we're going to go 2 hours for sure. So the way that each episode of this podcast will end, unless I completely screw it up at some point, which is probable, um, is with request for 3 recommendations.
Mhm.
Chino mentioned in a podcast that he only tweets out YouTube links to songs that he likes because he thinks that's the coolest thing that he could share. So,
Mhm.
in that spirit, could you give me 3 recommendations of absolutely anything? Old, new, music, art, um, books,
Abs-
architecture, whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. Uh, First thing I'm going to mention is a phone is actually an app that helps you record 1 second of the day. And this is something that my wife started doing in mid-January to document each and every day. And because we have a lot of interesting things that have occurred. We have birds sat macaws. Of course, we had a baby in April, and we get to see our daughter Rosemary just evolve from this tiny infant to the 6 month old that is laughing and giggling and saying mama dada and just having a great old time, and plus a bunch of other random adventures that we've had in between, and a bunch of other cool life stories to share. And I know there are a lot of apps out there that offer that service. Some are better than others, but 1 second of the day is the name of the app, and it's free. If you want to record something though for like longer than a second, or with music, there's like a fee you have to pay for a premium service. So the second thing I would recommend is, and well, I'll recommend this artist first. It's an artist named Kennedy Ashland, and I think she's from the Dallas area. Uh, she goes by the stage name Serskew, and she was also in a group called Them As Us. And
I'm sorry, what was it? Would you say her stage name is?
Serskew, SRSQ.
Cool.
And I hope I'm not mispronouncing that or anything like that, but she has one of the most beautiful voices I have ever heard. And I discovered her while she was opening for the Black Queen, when they were here about a year and a half ago at the Skyway, in the little club area there. And it's just her on a keyboard with some beautiful music, but she has one of the most awesome vocals I've heard in quite a while. And I think that's, if Crosses or Team Sleep were to tour again, I would definitely suggest that they get her to open for them, because she is totally amazing. The perfect song, perfect video to kind of kick things off is a song called Temporal Love. And there you can kind of hear her songwriting ability, her vocal range, and also just kind of see like the crowd that she can kind of cater to as well. But just watch it with an open mind and try to kind of take it in for what it is. And I guarantee you'll get a great vibe from it and enjoy the song.
That's right.
And then the third thing I would suggest is to turn on YouTube each and every day you're at work, and pick one band to listen to the entire day from start to finish, all their albums, or as many albums as there are. Mondays are my Nine Inch Nails days, and I listen to as much of their work as I can. Obviously, I can't fit it all into an 8-hour day, but just have that on while I'm working on some various projects. Wednesdays are my Deftones days, earliest to Ohms, and then I end the day with I end the week with Amon Amarth, because I always kind of think of that as my Purple Friday, and the right before the Vikings go into slaughter everything here. And to be honest with you, I wish the Minnesota Vikings would play their music in order to strike fear in the hearts of their opponents. But I mean, they play country music at US Bank Stadium and other bands that are fans of their opposing teams. So, but that's another issue altogether. But I usually leave Tuesdays and Thursdays open for either, I just kind of leave those days open at random. One day it could be a hip hop day. One day it could be kind of an electro, techno sound. Others are just like other classic alternative bands that I grew up with, like Stone Temple Pilots with Scott Weiland back in the day, Soundgarden, and yes, even dabble into heavy metal and kind of go a little deep, listening to bands like Exodus, Death Angel, Testament, and Dark Angel, among others as well.
Damn, I really enjoyed talking to Jeff. Thank you, Jeff, for reaching out to me and expressing interest in being a part of the podcast. I really appreciate it. And we still have a couple of minutes conversation left. I love talking about Deftones t-shirts and merchandise, so we're going to do that shortly here. After listening back to this conversation, the first thing I wanted to check was, have I seen Needles and Pins live? And the answer is no, I have not. According to setlist.fm, they played it live a total of 47 times, which is crazy, right? Others off the self-titled that haven't been played a lot, according to setlist.fm, Good Morning Beautiful, 12 times. Death Blow, 6 times. 6. Battle Axe has been played 48 times, and it doesn't appear that they've ever played Lucky You. And Anniversary of an Uninteresting Event has been played once at the Benefit for Chi Chang in 2009 at the Avalon in LA. That performance is on YouTube. Do yourself a favor. Watch it immediately. It's breathtakingly good. Okay, here's a little bit with me and Jeff talking about our Deftones jackets.
I had a shirt in college that was stolen, and it was from the Around the Fur era.
Don't tell me it was a female that stole it. If it was some lousy chick that stole your T-shirt, we will find her.
No, and this is where you would probably slap me and kind of thinking, what the hell were you thinking here? So I accidentally left my clothes in the lobby in the dorms of McElroy Hall when I was on my way home from winter break from Minnesota State University Mankato in December of 2000. In that laundry bin, I had a couple of Deftones shirts. One was an old White Pony shirt. The other was it was an olive-colored shirt with the original logo of the Deftones and the 13 ball.
Oh yeah, the billiard ball.
I missed that shirt.
What year was that?
That came out during the Around the Fur era.
And you left it in the. You said you left it at MSU at McElroy Hall about 2000.
Yep.
I might have stole your shirt, dude.
I also, one thing I still have to this date, and I'm going to see if I can find it, is, oh God, I got it. Oh, come on. Here it is.
Yes. Dude, how crucial were the windbreakers back in the year 2000? The year 2000, the Deftones went. So I've got a red White Pony windbreaker, and I probably spent, I don't know, 2 years trying to find it, because I think of the red windbreaker that Chino wore in like the Bazaar Festival performance of Lotion. That was like one of the only performances of Deftones on YouTube back in like the early 2000s or late 90s. It was like the only, it must have been early 2000s. Man, I was like, that fucking windbreaker is cold, Jack. Chino always been a style icon as far as I'm concerned. You know, whatever. I even rocked a chin strap beard for a minute. You know what I mean? But that red jacket is still a prized possession in my closet. I'm so stoked that you have that jacket. The gray jacket, almost though, I think a harder find, and B a little bit cooler. A little bit cooler. Is it gray or is it black? It's a gray jacket. Yeah.
I have mine is black, and it just has the original logo along with Sacto on the back. And surprisingly, I found that on eBay for $20, and it's a large. It's
shit.
And it's not an XL. Well, I got this. I got it like back in 2000 or 2001, and I kind of told myself, if I were to see that at the Quest show in 2000, I was going to buy it. And of course, it's not there. And I'm like, shit, that was a really cool windbreaker that could have had, and of course it's not there. Well, found it on eBay, bought it, and I believe Abe and Frank signed the inside of it.
Oh, they signed the inside of it? Really?
Yep.
Dude, that's another level. That's cool as shit.
Now, unfortunately, it has a little bit of wear and tear on it.
That's not unfortunate. That's not unfortunate.
So I don't necessarily wear that as often as I'd like, because I don't want all the letterings to like come off or anything like that.
Yeah, you're not going to flip it. You know what I mean? You know what it's worth. You know what it is.
But that's a windbreaker that's never going to part with me at all.
That's cool as shit. Jeff Cagle, Minnesota's #1 Deftones fan. Thank you, Jeff. Only a couple of weeks of new episodes remain in this season, so please check in next week when I speak to Zach and Kelly from 30 Nights of Violence, and on Christmas Day, you'll hear my conversation with Braun from Mastodon. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you're following 93X on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook to get the latest updates on the podcast, especially as we move into the off season and you want to stay up to date with the show and what's going on. 93X Radio on all of the social media sites. Or, of course, you can follow me. Again, I'm at Woodbruh, WOODBRUH, on Twitter and Instagram. I don't fuck with Facebook. Fuck Facebook. Thank you for listening to Deftones, and thank you for listening to Change in the House of Pods.